Hi guys, it's Liz McLean. I just wanted to say a quick hello and kind of introduce you into what these next videos are going to be about. If you don't know me already, if you're someone new, hi, namaste. I am a custom apparel creator, so I like to take my talent and my knowledge and my wanting to learn more about apparel and how it's made, and I want to inject that into people, the everyday kind of person. You know, I don't want to do just fancy high fashion stuff, but I want to make a normal person like me feel fancy and show people that what they're doing is nothing really kind of special, and I'll break it down for you so you can feel that way too. It's very attainable to feel fabulous, and I think I'm pretty good at that part, so I want to show you how to feel that way. So the next videos are going to be mostly about how to take your clothing and make it work for you and make it empower you. But also I just want to share what I'm into. It's going to be about yoga and food and friends and good times. Just share what I'm learning along the way too. So I hope you guys enjoy. If you have any questions, you let me know. But let's have some fun, okay? Let's get started. So go ahead and grab your scrap fabric. You want to be a woven, which means it's not stretchy. It'll feel like this, not stretchy. So like a t-shirt that's stretchy, we don't want that. And so we're also going to grab our hand sewing thread. Okay, now there's two kinds of thread. There's hand and machine thread. Now hand thread is usually cotton. There's usually no sticker right there, and it's got fuzzies on it. Sometimes comes in a cheap pack. This is machine thread. Now, Coats & Clark is a great brand, and you'll know it's machine thread because it says 100% polyester. Now you can use machine thread on anything, but you can't use hand thread on anything. So grab your pins, your needle. So this looks like a medium-sized needle. I'm not too educated on that my damn self. So this is the needle. You see the needle head, the hole where the thread's going to go through. Now to make the thread sleek and nice to go through that tiny hole, we're going to add moisture to the ends of our fingers and twist the end of the thread. Let me explain why. This is how thread is constructed: two strings of polyester or cotton wound up like this, just like curly hair. So then when we go to cut it, it frays at the end, and that's going to make it hard to get through that needle. It's so tiny already. So you're going to add some moisture and kind of correct it into its original structure. Just like that. So once we go ahead and thread our needle, you're going to make the two edges of the thread match. And you're just going to have to practice here, okay? This is kind of hard to do, but you'll get really, really good at it. And there are tools you can use to assist. See, so now I'm reaching for the two ends to line up almost perfectly to each other. Because you're going to take your left two fingers like this, 2 inches down from the bottom, adding moisture to those last 2 inches before you wrap it around like this. 2, maybe 3 times. Not too snug, not loose where it's falling off. And the action we're going to be doing is a rolling action right here. So this is the action you're going to do. You're going to pinch and roll the threads all over each other. And this is going to create a kink, just like curly hair. It's going to create a kink, looks like that, when you pull it down. And this will be a fast, basically one-handed knot that you can do when you're doing your projects. And next is a different kind of knot. So this will be a more delicate, dainty little knot. You'll use these in places like, the ends of darts where you don't want a big, chunky, lump under your clothing. So this is how I wrap it around twice. But you have to make every single knot on top of each other to make it bulk up like this. So go ahead and grab your tape measure. You're going to have to use a seam ripper. Please don't think you can just use scissors for some of these separation. If you make a mistake, this is the easiest tool to use. Even a cheap one is best. Grab embroidery scissors, your paper scissors, and your fabric scissors. So let's have a talk about fabric scissors. You need your own pair of fabric scissors, Mark them that they are just for fabric use only. Otherwise, the next time you use it for fabric, it really will not cut. So these are your special scissors. No one can touch them, please. Use a marking tool. I have chalk, but hey, a little pencil, that will be just fine. So this is how we get started. Go ahead and put the edges of your two fabrics together, face to face. So the good side of the fabrics are together. And you're going to go ahead and pin however far you want away from the edge. 1/2 inch or 5/8 is normal to pull away from the edge. So here I'll show you what 5/8 looks like on here. There's your half mark. And if you go one notch over like that, that is 5/8. So that's, industry kind of sewing standard. That's pretty normal. So take your marking tool and make your mark however far away from the edge you want, whatever number you picked. So I'm going to go 5/8 all the way down and make a straight line so I know what to sew on. Cool. Now we're going to start from the back or the bottom, and you're going to come up, and you have to line up right on that line that you made. Mine is in this kind of blue chalk. So you're trying to simulate a machine, so go really, really, really as close as you can. For demonstration's sake, it's going to be a little bit bigger than it would normally. And see how we discussed how thread is wound up spirally, so it can kink up when you pull it through. You can use beeswax or any kind of waxy material to prevent that. So I fixed mine, and I'm just going to continue. Now you see how this scrunched up? You're going to have to straighten it. It's going to scrunch up, and that's actually another technique of how to make ruffles or gathers. So as you go on your line back and forth, just try not to scrunch up your fabric. So here's a technique. If you get comfortable or if it's just a quick little seam, you can go ahead and go back and forth like this, where you're literally almost keeping the needle still and moving the fabric around. And while we're at it, this is how you make a gather. You just wouldn't straighten out the thread to make it flat again. Once we're done, we're just going to pull the needle through and it becomes a seam. So again, if you're doing this, make your stitches a lot closer together. Flatten all of those gathers back out. Make sure it's nice and straight. And this is how we're going to do the edge, or the ending knot. So let's look at that again. You can curve it around just one simple time. Make that knot really sit at the fabric base, and this is how. And pull it tight. You're going to clip your thread and you've made a seam. The beginning has just started for you. Now, if you were to flip it onto the other side, traditionally we are going to press it open. We're going to press it to one side. We can have a top stitch right along here. There's a bunch of different ways you can close it. You can do serging along this edge right here and enclose the edge so it doesn't fray. But before we do that, we would trim your edge. Let's see another kind of technique. So this is invisible stitch or slip in the ditch. So go ahead and pin down your fabric. One is going to always be a fold, or something on top. This is something we're going to use when we're doing kind of couture, kind of hand stitching. so that you can stitch on top of fabric, not underneath it, but it be invisible so it doesn't look, you know, janky or anything. So start on the bottom fabric and come up. Now we're gonna put this needle through this channel that this fold makes. And see, so this is a perfect example where a smaller needle would have been definitely more helpful with this really thin fabric. So after you come out of the channel, you're going to come right down to the bottom fabric all the way through, just like this. And a few stitches we're going over, we're going to come right back up, still on the bottom fabric, not touching the top fold yet. Go ahead and pull that through, and almost, again, right under the fold is where we're going to slip the needle right through the channel like this, pull it through, and now we're looking for the entry point for the bottom fabric. So close, right there. So close. It'll look completely invisible if this was gray. Just go back and forth through the channel, dip it right underneath on the bottom fabric, dip it through the channel on top. This is what it looks like when it's all done, so just remember this is an invisible stitch and we will use this later on. So next let's talk about how to do a quick button. So mark where you want the button to be. So I've used my chalk, you can use your little pencil, especially a button because the button's going to cover whatever marking. But chalk is removable, so it's always best. Now take your threaded needle, which you know how to do now, and start underneath your fabric and pull the button thread on through. Now sometimes with buttons you're going to want to double, triple up your thread depending on how big or the strength that your button will need to be. And here you can see you can make any kind of design, an X, a square, just two parallel lines. You decide what you want to do. I'm going to do basically like two parallel lines. So thread your button through like this. Here's the first one. Go ahead and pick the second one. The second hole you're going to put the needle through and decide, you know, your design. Before I tighten it, I want to make the button kind of loose like this so I can show you that we're going to want the button, the thread to go right into the same similar area, so maybe a few stitches over so it doesn't create so much tension in one exact needle puncture through the thread, through the fabric. So now you can see it's taut and really strong. This is how it should look after your first go. So now we're going to continue. So pull up through in the same center point and continue your design. So here I'm aiming really for the middle, the center mark that I made. So see, everything is still in the relative same area. I'm going to continue. Cool beans. Look at that button. It's so cute. That's what it looks like on the back. And let's do a close-up for you really quick. You're going to push your needle through bottom through the front of your fabric, pull it through, and dip it through the next hole. It couldn't be easier. Like, you can do this. Now you know what to do. Make your own knot. So really whatever knot works for you, we'll do it. But here's one technique. And you've done it. You're going to clip your thread. You are all done. I like to go ahead and make another knot at the end of my thread if I have tons left on my needle. But here's your button. Super cute. Now think of all the projects you can do now.